everyone and welcome to this fourth match of the Clash of the Clans round 2. So, just before we start, I'd like to tell you that this match won't end well. One team will disconnect, so well, it's not a very nice ending for a game, is it? But I still wanted to show you the match because first I told you I'd show you every match, and second, it's still quite a nice match, quite a balanced match with both teams playing quite well. So I still decided to show you the match, but don't be surprised if it ends with a disconnection and not with a team actually winning the game. So here we go. We've got TSP, Tiga, Swift, Praslo playing NATO in blue versus versus the ProMagnon team represented by Lenin, Charminato and Martin. So in terms of points, they've spent more or less the same amount, nearly all of their money. And here we go, once again on Hamburger Hill. So a deployment, well, the same deployment as usual. 3 deployment axes on the right, on the left, and separation in 2 deployments in the middle. Only difference is that on the PACT side we've got very little troops going in on the left, only 2 helicopters with 1 recon chopper, and here 1 recon and a few infantry units. The big part of their army is going right down the middle, which will be quite hard for the NATO players to stop. On the right side we've got a big infantry detachment coming in here, but another big, well, the same detachment coming in from the PACT side with a lot of infantry units and a couple of Zalos. So we're gonna have a big encounter here between infantry units. On this side, well, we've got the usual PACT coming in quite quickly. The helicopter is down, but some of the PZU have managed to come into the city. The PACT players are attacking quite aggressively, like most of the games, but the MLRS on the NATO side are hitting right at the start their offensive formation. So just to show you, we've got a support on Charlie is represented by, well, we've got 4 MLRS units in Charlie, while in India we've got 1 smudge here, 1 smudge over here, and 2 Danas over here, so, and 2 Danas over here also, so more firepower from the PACT side, but a bit more it's a nice combination of artillery and MLRS units, and not just MLRS units. Over here, well, the clash between the infantry has started between Motostrelki and Paratrooper. Unfortunately, it seems like the PACT players are taking the upper hand here. They are supported by tanks, Zalos, and quite nice transports, who have, of course, a recoilless rifle with 3 HE, so it's really nice to support infantry. Its speed is very good. Its offensive capabilities are nice, so it's quite a nice transport unit. And but hopefully the MLRS and the mortars are trying to help the paratroopers, but they shoot a bit behind the army, so that allows the infantry units to stay more or less intact and push back the entire paratrooper army. Over here in Echo we've got once more the PACT that is charging into Echo. So that's something you can see on this map. Every single game I've commented right now, we've seen the PACT being able to control Juliet really easily and attack on Echo quite quickly, while the NATO were always in the same position, trying to defend as they could their bit part of forest over here and put a commander in it, which always was pretty hard. So on the left side we've got Bravo controlled by the PACT players, who have put it a very nice defensive position, while no control at all from the PACT players over here. Small Smush and Dana shelling in the forest, but with very little impact, I might say, because, well, very well, non-corrected shots. On the right, Lima and Kilo are controlled, so the NATO players have a larger control of the map and a better income for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sectors versus only 3. So for now it seems like the NATO players are taking the upper hand. If they manage to hold over here, which seems to be the case with the MLRS supporting them, they are dealing quite a lot of damage on the enemy units. 2 Zalos down here, the T-55s are in a pretty bad shape, and they've got a nice combination of units here, infantry and medium tanks with the patterns and the pattern rise, which are trying to defend and kill the PACT units from both left and right. So for now the NATO players are holding, even if most of the units are panicked. They are still trying to hold the area and are doing quite a good job versus this overwhelming PACT force. On the left side, still no action going on, still this defense from the NATO players and the PACT players that isn't advancing. Over here, 2 AMX-10P are sent in to, well, probably try to do something in the forest, even if there are a lot of PACT units. Over here, the commander is very, well, I would say badly defended, but against air units it's pretty much okay. We've got Chaparral, we've got Vulcans, but against ground units we've got very few units to defend the commander. I guess the NATO player is counting only on his recon to see units arriving and well, pulling back according to the menace. So once more we've got the Smash shooting in the forest, but no one is there for now. MLRS shooting at the PACT army also, but a non-corrected shot does very little damage. Well, 1 or 2 infantrymen are killed, not even infantry squads. So for now it's, well, these kinds of shellings are very limited in terms of impact. Here we've got 1 transport coming in. If he could have continued to take down the commander, but he seems to stop over here. I don't really know why, we'll see probably later. So on the left side, little infantry sent here, 2 AMX AUF recruited to shell the PACT forest. So for now it's just a bit of shelling, a bit of observation on the left flank. On the right flank we've got the NATO still controlling Kilo, but the commander is pulling back in Lima. The infantry have controlled the building over here, so the commander is of course pulling back. Unfortunately the PACT players are shelling its retreat route, and he takes a couple of direct hits, loses 5 HPs, and well, it looks like he's just out of the shelling area, which is quite lucky. He was in a bad shape, and I think one more hit he would have panicked, and then he would have taken other hits until he'd die. So for now it's quite lucky, but the Smash are hitting also. The commander is pulling back, seeing the Smash shelling. Hopefully, well, he is just able to get out of the main impact area and going back into Lima to control the sector. Counter hits, counter firing with the MLRS into the little forest over here, and some Spetsnaz, some much to say, and 1 BTR are killed, so quite a nice shot over here. The NATO forces just next to Echo are starting to get pretty thin. We've got a few tanks left, but that's not much. But hopefully on the PACT side it's more or less the same thing, even if some tanks are sending in as reinforcements. You've got T-72s, T-55 sending in, T-64A, T-55AM, so that's quite another tanks over here. So yeah, that's quite a nice amount of tanks in Echo. It's going to be pretty hard for the PACT NATO players, sorry, to take back this sector. Once more the commander is routing, so the Lima sector isn't controlled while the commander is routing, even if he is immobile. If he's routing, he can't control anything. Over here, a few PACT units trying to, well, prepare an attack probably, or just defend their front line. Over here, a bit of some units just advancing, and a bit of a skirmish here between infantry squads, Spadoconarze versus Fusiliers on the left side, but nothing too serious. I'll speed the game a bit up. Still this PACT advantage over here in Echo. NATO players are very intelligently just staying just below the cliff over here, sending in a few tanks to kill the enemies that are just at this point here, and pulling back when the menace is big, like with the T-72. Once more the Smash is hitting the area where the commander is located, and the commander gets a direct rocket hit and is killed in Lima. That's pretty hard for the NATO players. In terms of map control, well, it's pretty much the same thing. 4, 7, 9 versus 6, 8, 10, so it's pretty much balanced. And in terms of points here, a bit of an advantage for the NATO players, but once more it's a very small advantage in this point in the game. One commander sent in over here, probably for November. So the PACT players are willing to increase their domination. They are, in terms of map control, they are dominating. You can see on the minimap here, the front line is pretty neat over here. Big defenses on both sides, even if you can say there are a bit more units on the PACT side. But over here, the NATO players are a bit in a bad position. They are pulling a bit back, and the PACT players are pushing in. So, well, a couple of units are sent in. One pattern rise is down. 3 of them are sent in as reinforcements, hopefully, and they will try to counterattack the PACT little squadron over here. 1-0 is down. Over here, infantry units sent in to try to counter these tanks, supported by pattern rise and 1 patrol over here. A couple of tanks are down, but the T-72 and the T-55 are still alive, and it's going to be once more pretty hard for the NATO players. The tanks are pulling back, while the MLRS are still shooting into the forest, and a couple of Zalos are killed, and the T-72s take a little hit. Over here, the NATO players have started their offensive. They have taken the forest with a couple of Legion Fama squads and 1 Fernspar squad. So that's much it. They've started their attack. Unfortunately, they haven't controlled Foxtrot, and the PACT players have controlled Hotel, which allowed them to reinforce their defenses on their right flank. Over here, November is controlled by the PACT players, and Lima hasn't been retaken by the NATO players. So it's pretty much 6, 8, 10 points once more against 14 points for the PACT players. So we've got a nice point of advantage right now for the NATO players, but in terms of income, we've got a PACT team that has a nice advantage for now. So still this little skirmish here between the PACT and the NATO forces. Some recon infantry sent in to detect what's happening, and that allow the MLRS to make corrected shots. Unfortunately, both tanks had advanced before the MLRS shot, so they just avoided the hit. Patterns coming in from the right. Unfortunately, they have taken both side hits from the tanks over here and the ATGM, and frontal hits from these 2 tanks. It's going to be pretty hard for them. That's why they are pulling back. They are even taking 1 smirch hit, and they are in a pretty bad shape, panicked and with very little HPs. Once more, an MLR is shelling, killing, well, not able to kill the Malkas over here, which is too bad. They had a nice corrected shot apparently, but the Malkas pulled back just in time. In Foxtrot, the PACT players are regrouping a bit of some forces to probably counter-attack, but for now it's pretty even. Both forces have control of 1 forest in Foxtrot, so for now it's pretty balanced in terms of control of the sector. Over here we've got, well, still no commander for Lima, and still no commander for Echo, which is pretty obvious. They are still in a bad position over here. On the right side, the PACT players are trying to block the reinforcement line from the Kilo sector, but the NATO players send in some troops, Fusiliers and Spartans, to stop this PACT attempt to cut their reinforcement lines. Really nice reaction here. And 2 new commanders are coming in for the PACT team. 2 BRDM2U coming in probably for Papa and Oscar. They are trying to push their economic advantage. If they manage to control those 2 sectors, they will have a big economic advantage. Once more, the amount of points stored is pretty much balanced. And in terms of income, it's still the PACT team that is having the upper hand. New reinforcement units coming in, a lot of infantry as usual on this map, and 1 commander has just arrived over here to probably take control of Echo once the sector is a bit more secured. Still nothing on Lima, fortunately, and this front line is pretty much stable since the last time we spoke about it. Big defense on the left side and shrinking the more we go to the right, and very small defenses over here, a couple of infantry units, a couple of anti-air, but that's pretty much it. Once more, oh, the MLRS have killed both Malka units. Just here. No, thank you. Just here. So that's it for the HE7 artillery units on the PACT side. So still this little shelling for now. One commander is sent in Foxtrot to control the sector for the NATO players. Pretty nice. It's 4 points added to their income. It's it's the biggest sector with these 3 on the map. That's it. Oscar is controlled by the PACT players and Papa is controlled also. So we've got a big PACT advantage here in terms of income. 19 points of income versus 4, 7, 10, 14. So it's a pretty nice advantage for the PACT players, and they are now having a pretty nice advantage here in terms of points stored. Yeah, nearly 3 times the amount NATO players have. So NATO players really are in a pretty bad situation for now. They still have nice forces a bit everywhere, but the PACT players also have, well, I'd say the forces necessary to counterattack or to stop a NATO offensive. Echo is being controlled by the NATO players, so that's it. It's rebalancing a bit the income. A small attack over here with the BRDM. Do you oblige to pull back? But the Spartan is routing. They're gonna get taken care of by PACT units probably. The helicopters here, they are taking care of it. And the few Fusiliers are going to be pushed back by the helicopters or anything else. The commander is coming back to control once more November. No thank you, Tony. I should have disconnected. Oh well, the commander is here, is taking some beating from the enemy Danas and probably the Smersh, I don't know. Yeah, he seems to be firing in the right direction. But that's it, the point that I was talking to you about. Lenin has disconnected, and well, his allies will surrender. Shamina surrenders, and the last one, Martin, will surrender quite shortly. They have a nice advantage, 400 points in front of the NATO team. They have a better income, but Martin surrenders, and well, unfortunately, well, that's it. That's pretty much it. Well, in terms of points, 827 versus 1267. So, well, the PACT players were winning, but let me tell you what happened actually. They played one first match where Lenin, who has a pretty bad connection right now, disconnected. So the TSP team proposed to rematch, so they did a rematch, which is the match I showed you. But unfortunately, once again, Lenin disconnected, so this time Charminato and Martin, they probably left the win to the TSP because they couldn't finish an entire game without Lenin disconnecting. So they pretty much gave the victory to the TSP clan. It was a pretty balanced game. Even with the advantage here, I wouldn't say they would have won, but they had a point and an income advantage. So it would have been quite hard for the NATO team to come back in the game. But we never know, these guys are pretty good players, so it could have gone either way. It's pretty unfortunate Lenin had to disconnect, well, did disconnect, sorry, because it was a pretty nice game. In terms of command points, pretty balanced, just a 500 advantage here for the PACT team. We've got a bigger kill amount for the NATO team, but this takes into account all the units destroyed when the PACT team disconnected, so of course it doesn't represent at all the amount of units actually killed by the TSP. If you think about it 2 seconds, it's this amount is the total amount. Well, it's more than the deployment phase points and these points added up. So of course they couldn't have destroyed that much units. So in terms of it was a very nice game. Unfortunately, he didn't disconnected, so it ended quite brutally. So that's it for the 4th match. I hope you liked it. Thanks for watching and see you next time.